Hey everybody, conscious medium Brandon Russ, and we are mourning the loss of Cindy Williams, one of the great powerhouse comedians of the mid 70s and early 1980s. I mean, she stayed in the industry for years, but nothing could compare to her, shot to stardom in Lavern and Shirley. Instead of looking at her chart and how she passed, I want to actually talk about how she lived. I also want to talk about how she was the battery that made Lavern and Shirley actually work. She was nothing short of the power keg that Penny Marshall needed for her entire career. We're going to take a look at the astrology of Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall coming up next on Stream of Consciousness. Conscious Medium, Brandon Ross. What a beautiful soul Cindy Williams was. She was always the slight dim wit. She was the person that was always kind of ready to be the fodder for whatever it is that, you know, madcap 22 and a half minutes hijinks on a Friday night before or after Happy Days. It was a spinoff of Happy Days, which was kind of funny in and of itself, as Happy Days spun off more than four other shows unto itself, but none as impactful as that opening line of Shamil Shabago. I always get that wrong. Blah, 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 Incorporated. Go ahead. Comment on below that I really should know that and I should have that kind of better. I'm going to turn on my light now. Because, of course, I couldn't, I thought to myself that, if I was going to talk about Lavern and Shirley, if I was going to talk about Lavern DeFazio and Shirley Feeney, that I was going to have to go off the cuff because I was literally 3 years old when the show came out. But countless reruns allowed us to know who Cindy Williams was. And certainly the success then that Penny Marshall had with all of her directing work, with everything from, her and her brother worked together on stuff like Lavern, and she had countless other films, connected to this. But we're really going to honor Cindy here today by talking about how she was really the backbone that launched Penny Marshall. Now, I want to take a look at Cindy's chart first. And, oh gosh, here we go. I'm going to get squeezed in here, aren't I? It's okay. We'll make this work. Thanks, guys. By the way, I don't do a whole lot of editing, so that then I can get it out there quicker. But that's just kind of the way that we work. So we're going to go like this. We're looking at Cindy's chart here. And I'm going to actually go like this. And then I'm going to go like this. I'm just going to make sure we know who we're talking about here. So Cindy Williams has some really cool things about her chart. First of all, she has her 7th and her 10th house are chock full. Well, what are the 7th and the 10th house? The 7th house, and by the way, if this interests you, if you like how I'm talking about this, I have an upcoming class called Relationship Astrology. What I'm going to talk about is the relationship between Penny and Cindy. So first of all, you have to take a look at the strengths here in the 7th house and the 10th house. The 7th house is about relationships. It is about understanding that it is the Libra house. It is the one of balance. It's the give and take. It's so then you're able to really kind of, pull that together. And she has an incredible placement here in the 7th house. First of all, it's all Leo, but look at all them planets, people. Not to mention the fact that her sun is at a 29-degree angle, which is known as the anarech, which is the point of focus. What the anarech angle is that at 29 degrees, you're in your final moments. You're in the final countdown. And that's where if everything's going to get accomplished, if everything's going to happen, if all the focus is there, of course, it's kind of a last-minute thing. It's kind of a human homage to you better get this done. Well, she is at 29 degrees and just over 29 degrees. So this means that her passion for her friends, her loyalty is incredibly deep. Like she is somebody that's going to do the greater good for Lavern and Shirley over and over again. And she proved that in her career. One of the things after Penny Marshall said, I've got other things to do. I'm going to, direct film. I'm going to do other things. They said, well, we can keep the show going or we can do a spinoff. But Cindy, we love you. We want to keep it working. And she said, no, the magic is done. Everything had to do with me and Penny. Penny can do her own thing, but I'm not going to do that without Penny. That's where that comes out of her chart. And she has Venus, she has Mercury, she has Saturn, she has Pluto. She's got everything sitting in there. She's got every major power planet. So she is somebody that's going to go to the mat for you. She is somebody that's going to give you a kidney. She is somebody that's just going to hang out with you forever. She's never going to talk trash, and she's going to love you to death, right? She's also someone that understands that she's incredibly compassionate. We talk about the empath and being empathic, right? Well, for her, it's Mars in Cancer sitting there in the 6th house, right? She's going to love everybody that's in her camp. Incredibly loyal. Now, let's talk about the career house, the 10th house. She has in there the moon, and Jupiter. Well, when the moon and the Jupiter get together, well, that's really kind of making dreams come true. You're a Hall & Oates song, right? You're gonna make my dream come true. And of course, you got the South Node, so it's a very comfortable spot for her. Being famous was actually comfortable for her, and she knew when to be and when to pull out of that. When I say comfortable, I don't mean she was seeking the spotlight. What I mean is when the conditions were right, things were awesome. By the way, incredibly intuitive. You want to talk about how much of her improv chop she got? Well, that's sitting there in the 8th house. Neptune is sitting there, makes her highly intuitive, makes her understand the conditions of the moment, and it allows you to play off of other people very well. It's the 8th house, it's the Scorpion house, right? She's also able to take it on the chin and not really get hung up on anything. Now, Uranus sitting here in the 5th house, her house of creativity, and hey, let's kind of do something different. I want you to just simply note this in her chart in the 5th house, that because when we do the comparison, I'm going to keep Cindy on the inner chart, and there's something really important to this, and I think I can show you the astrology of Lavern and Shirley here. That's kind of fun. Are we having fun yet? All right, listen, we're going to switch over here. Thank you, Cindy. We'll be back in a moment. Trust me, there is no one like you. Well, let's talk again about good old Penny Marshall. Where is Penny? There she is. Yeah, remember, I've got like position cues and that sort of thing. I have to move around now. So a couple of things about Penny Marshall and how she complements Cindy and vice versa. We'll talk about that here in a second. Now, here's kind of the fun part. Now, the two of them were born about 3.5 years, apart from each other. So the outer planets aren't going to move all that much, but there is some significance in that. Now, a couple of things about what makes Penny tick. Well, she is the natural curiosity one. She's the one she's gonna play around and find out, right? The 9th house is one of her dominant along with her 11th, right? And this is something interesting about both of these women. They both have 2 primary houses, and the rest of them are pretty minor. She's got a couple in the 8th, which we'll talk about that in a second, and a couple here in the 10th. But looking at her 9th house, this is a natural curiosity. It's also her healing dynamic. You've got Lilith sitting in there. But remember that Leo energy that we talked about with Cindy? Well, guess what? She has Jupiter in the 9th house in Leo, along with her North Node, in other words, destiny, right? So you could begin to argue like, Penny is going to be known for the idea that she's an innovator, somebody that's going to be able to, look at things in a different way, right? And of course, Pluto being a power-based type of thing, there it is, right? Now, in the 11th house, this is where her intuition is. This is her knowing the Hollywood industry, right? So being able to know the difference of like, intuitively having a Libra, she's a good negotiator. She's somebody to say like, this is going to be good for this one's going to be good for that one. This is a horrible Penny Marshall, but I'll keep going. Listen, You want to be in a movie. I want to direct a movie. I can show you how to do it. You can show me how to do it. You'll get a few dollars. I get a few dollars, and everybody's okay. Penny Marshall is fantastic. But that's the way she would approach everything. That is the way that she would see her value. Because in this, in her chart, in the 11th house, she has that communication of hopes and dreams, a little disillusional, might be a little bit out there sometimes, but that's the innovator in her. That's what made her so good. It made her good to say, we're going to do a thing on the baseball team of the women. But nobody wants to watch that. I know, and I'm going to have my brother involved as well. Like, she would just be somebody that would kind of keep going. Being born and raised, and I think it was Coney Island. I think it was Coney Island. I know it was New York. This is part of her identity. This is a really, really strong identity for her because, you know, the component for me is what makes her tick. The 9th house is kind of the driving force of the innovation. And then the 11th house is the creativity and understanding how everything pulled together. So one of them is establishing the networking business mind of it, and the other one is establishing the creativity. Now, let me start to do some switch over here. I hope you, oh, and by the way, as I'm doing this, could you please click like and subscribe? I'm busting my hump here for crying out loud, everybody. Oh, there they are. There's the two of them. By the way, the show ran from 1976 to 1982, and when the show kind of split apart, it was because Penny Marshall wanted to pursue her other endeavors. She just had a lot of these offers. She had other TV deals. She had other whatever. And Cindy Williams just showed up to work. She wasn't worried about networking because that was Lavern's job. That was Penny's job. And by the way, can we just say for the record, do you know how many times I went and did this? And I went ahead and I I think I clicked on this about 40 times. And I'm really glad that you guys could kind of see it here. Oh gosh, nope, I'm not going to have it here. Anyways, I was about to make a Penny Dix joke. I'll make it here in a second. But here with Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall, the two of them were really meant to play off of one another, or at least by circumstance and happenstance that they met. I think they met in a deli or a diner or something, and they started to talk, and they said, yeah, I'll call you back, babe. And Cindy Williams went, she's not going to call me back. Who the hell would call me back? And then meanwhile, Lavern is like, I know talent. Listen, I've seen a lot of people, and they're all going to come and go, but that Cindy Williams, she's coming with me. Well, take a look at this chart. Cindy is on the inside. Penny is on the outside. So let's kind of line up the 7th house of Cindy lines up with the 9th house for Penny, right? And look at that exterior. I'm telling you guys, you can't make this stuff up. Penny Marshall was bringing in her 9th house the creativity. What Penny needed somewhere in her life was Cindy on this inner bend of this incredibly loyal, creative, driven person that allowed her to be who she is. Now listen, this kind of support mechanism with all of this Leo, look at all of this Leo in this chart. This is why they were such innovators. This is why they took it and they were like two women living together, you know, being able to, you know, make it, we're gonna make it. Think of the theme song. It was about the two of them doing something of rebellion and then saying, we're going to make it. Well, in their chart, this 7th house of relationships in Cindy and the 9th house laying on top of this is what they brought to it. Cindy brought an incredible amount of loyalty, passion, and succinct friendship. And then Penny brought the innovation of, now listen, we're going to try this a different way. We're going to do this a little bit separately. This is what I'm meant to do. Now, notice how their Plutos are really not too far apart from one another. You know, that's kind of a generational thing. You're not going to see that too far from one another. However, Jupiter made a serious move here. Jupiter actually made a serious full trip almost all the way around here, or at least in four months. Now, that Jupiter, Penny's Jupiter of strength, right, is sitting here in her 9th house. It looks like the 7th, though, on the outside. It is a square To Cindy's Jupiter, guess what, everybody? That is somebody encouraging them. In other words, this is Penny saying to Cindy, I'm going to make you famous. I'm going to bring you there. She's making her hopes and dreams come together, right? Another very key component here in all of this, and it's funny, Mars kind of does a wraparound. Mars has actually gone through a couple of 3 times by this point, because again, they are a few years apart. They're 4 years apart. But the other really kind of key thing that you always want to look at is how the moons play off of each other, right? So you have the moons in opposition here, right? So you have Penny being very kind of like this Taurus moon of like, and by the way, Taurus moon, super practical. This is who I am. This is my value. We value this, but it's also a little bit of jealousy, right? That's why when Penny Marshall said, I'm going to take off, it was probably because she was worried about getting hurt or seeing it kind of tail off or being worried that it would fall apart before she got there, right? Cindy's placement of the moon is in Scorpio. By the way, both of them can be incredibly jealous of one another. However, her empowerment sitting in Scorpio wasn't about jealousy. She is conjunct with the North Node and Jupiter. She knew she had to play to Penny Marshall's goodwill, her own passion, her emotion, her connection, all of that. It's in their chart. By the way, Penny Marshall's rising was over Cindy Williams' 10th house, which is why it always looked like Lavern was wearing the pants. That is why it always looked like Penny was wearing the pants. Listen, Cindy brought an incredible amount of gift into this. Her creativity, look at that creativity sitting in the 8th house. It is huge. And to have that balance of give and take, they're both in Libra. And again, it's a generational planet. But that placement in the 8th is about how are we going to do this together? It's also part of the reason why Cindy Williams didn't have much of a career. And I'm not saying she didn't work. She did do some very valuable things, but it never quite reached what it did for Penny Marshall. But Penny Marshall could do whatever. It's because of this placement here. It is because of these placements of being able to say, I will help you because that is my role to the two of us. That is the role within this chart. And it's pure destiny. That square of Jupiter is a ginormous, huge thing. And I just want to make sure I'm seeing anything else here. You've got movement within the chart, but it's almost like they've both been through so many cycles. The last thing that I think I would want to, point out is how when you look at the 5th house of Cindy Williams, that creative juice part of it, and the rebellion planet of Uranus sitting in there, it lines up, right? So Cindy Williams received, and then you see the Saturn of Penny Marshall over her Uranus. What that is bringing a stability for the craziness. In other words, like, that's a crazy idea. I got a TV camera. Let's shoot this. That's what that's saying. So the two of them had a symbiotic relationship and needed one another, especially to get launched. But they were destined to have that in connection. Now, the last thing that you always take a look at is where the nodes are. Well, guess what, everybody? Between the two of them, you have Penny Marshall, whose North Node is in Leo. Look at all that action in Cindy Williams' Leo. And the South Node in Aquarius. Now, what does that mean? Well, Leo is about, being able to project and promote and stand up for yourself, where you're going with it, finding your voice. The Aquarian is, hey, we're going to do this for the greater good. Kind of a match made in heaven, because then you have the square of Cindy Williams being a Taurus in the North Node and Scorpio in the South Node. Well, guess what that is, everybody? That is the fixed grand cross. These two women were powerhouses together. They were people that when they got together, they said, we're gonna make it. Can't make this up. The fixed grand cross is when fixed energies cross dissect one another. You see it most often with north nodes. You do see it with planets. You'll see it with sun and moon and that sort of thing when it starts to kind of go like this, when you've got a couple of opposites coming together. It's kind of cool. It's a little bit, you see that visual, everybody? Can't wait to get more animators on board. But you understand what I'm saying, where it becomes this fixed grand cross. This is the four fixed signs in the zodiac. It is Aquarius to Leo. It is Taurus to Scorpio, right? And by the way, if you want to go a little bit further, go ahead and pull out your tarot deck and look on the Wheel of Fortune, and go ahead and take a look at the four symbols, right? So, and by the way, you've got it on a second card on tarot. Go ahead and click like and subscribe, put it down below. I'll do a whole video on just the fixed energy stuff. But listen, this was because they were dynamic tension, and sometimes they get crap in the news, they didn't get along, they didn't whatever. These two worked fantastic together. They could also wasn't meant to be necessarily soulmates. They were meant to be karmatic partners. They were meant to fuel one another, and they were meant to help each other get to where they needed to when they met. This is an incredible cross dissection of two people that were incredibly dynamic on their own, but had strengths and weaknesses that showed one another. By the way, everybody, this is what relationship astrology looks at. This is what my class is about coming up. I hope you click down below and follow. I'm taking $100 off if you follow the link that I have down there, just for watching this far into the program. So listen, guys, I want to thank you so much for coming along here. I want to thank you guys for being part of my channel. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Make sure that you that's the other Penny. By the way, yet another great duo of Penny and Brandon. I'm sorry, of Penny and Cindy. Penny and that's my Penny joke. Thanks, Penny. Anyways, guys, thanks for coming along. Again, rest in peace, Cindy Williams. We are losing little bits of our history here every single day. And when you take a look at the astrology, you begin to realize and understand not only how important it was to them, but how those things like relationships are incredibly important. I want to thank you guys for coming along. I'm going to give you the heart tap to remind one another that we love and care for each other and to simply keep going. Until next time, see you then. Conscious Medium, Brandon Ross.